The woman who shuffled through the glass doors of Apex Trust Microfinance Bank that Tuesday morning looked like she'd been sleeping rough for weeks. Her wrapper was stained and torn at the edges, her headscarf faded and askew, her feet bare and dusty from Lagos streets. She clutched a worn brown bag to her chest and moved with the cautious uncertainty of someone who expected to be thrown out at any moment. What none of the staff at Apex Trust knew was that the homeless woman standing in their air-conditioned lobby was Madam Ifeoma, the billionaire CEO and majority shareholder of the entire Apex Trust banking group, 53 branches across Nigeria, assets worth over 18 billion naira. She was also desperately searching for something that could destroy her entire empire if it fell into the wrong hands. 3 days earlier, a prototype crypto security chip containing access codes to Apex Trust's entire digital vault system had gone missing during a tech installation at this exact branch. The chip was worth nothing to most people, just a piece of circuitry, but in the hands of someone who understood its function, it was the key to billions. Ifeoma's security team had traced its last known location to this building, possibly dropped, possibly hidden. She needed to search without alerting whoever might have taken it, which meant going undercover in a way no one would ever suspect. So she dressed as invisible, as someone the banking world trained its employees to overlook. "Excuse me," Ifeoma said softly, approaching the customer service desk, where 3 young women sat scrolling through their phones. "Please, I need help. I lost something small. Maybe it fell here yesterday." The woman closest to her, her name tag read Bola, looked up with an expression of pure disgust. "Ah, madam, this one that you just entered bank like this." She wrinkled her nose dramatically. "You cannot say this is not marketplace. I beg, go outside." Ifeoma had expected dismissal. What she hadn't expected was the phone that immediately appeared, camera pointed directly at her. Chioma, come and see." Bola called to her colleague, already recording. "Come and see Beggar way in her first bank. Apex Trust. As if Nara Papa get am." The second woman, Chioma, abandoned her desk and joined in, pulling out her own phone. "Abba, this one." "Auntie, you lost what exactly?" "Your dignity." She laughed, a cruel sound that echoed through the marble lobby. The third woman, Amaka, was already typing on her phone. "I'm posting this on our TikTok. Our followers go love this one. Remember that video of us with designer bags last week? This is perfect contrast content." Banking queens meet street beggar. She positioned herself for a better angle, making sure to capture both Ifeoma's shabby appearance and their own designer outfits in the same frame. Ifeoma stood very still, letting them record, watching everything with eyes that missed nothing. She noticed the designer bags Amaka mentioned, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Hermes, casually displayed on their desks. Junior customer service officers earning maybe 120,000 naira monthly, carrying bags worth millions. "Interesting. Please." Ifeoma tried again, her voice deliberately weak. "I just need to look around the floor, maybe near the ATM area." "Look around." Bola's voice rose mockingly. "You want to case the joint, ABI? Security." She snapped her fingers toward the entrance. "Come remove this woman before she thieves something." But before security could move, a door behind the customer service desk opened, and a man emerged, middle-aged, wearing an expensive suit, his face slick with sudden sweat despite the aggressive air conditioning. Mr. Adebayo, the branch manager, and he looked terrified. His eyes locked on Ifeoma, and something flickered across his face. Fear? Recognition? No, not recognition exactly. More like suspicion. Like he was seeing something that didn't add up. "What's going on here?" he demanded, but his voice was too high, too nervous. "Just removing rubbish from the banking hall, sir," Chioma said cheerfully, still recording. "Nothing to worry about." "Delete that video," Mr. Adebayo snapped suddenly. "Delete it now. All of you, delete those videos." The 3 women exchanged glances, and something unspoken passed between them. Bola's smile turned sharp. "Ah, Mr. Adebayo, but why?" she said sweetly, dangerously. "We always post content from work. You never complained before. Unless you don't want anyone looking too closely at what happens in this branch." She tapped her phone meaningfully. "We wouldn't want certain documents to accidentally get posted instead, would we?" The manager's face went pale. You wouldn't dare. Try us, Amaka said quietly. Remember, we have copies of everything. Every transaction you've been hiding. Every fake loan approval. Every diverted fund. So maybe you should worry about your own problems and let us have our fun, sir. Ifeoma watched this exchange with fascination. The three customer service officers were blackmailing their own manager. And from the way Mr. Adebayo's hands shook, they had real ammunition. Fine, he spat. Do what you want. Just keep that woman away from the back offices. He retreated into his office, slamming the door. Bola turned back to Ifeoma, her smile vicious with renewed confidence. You see, even Oga wants you gone. So carry your dirty wrapper and your smelling body and get out before we call real police, not just security. Wait, Ifeoma said, and something in her voice, some tiny shift in tone, made Chioma's recording finger pause. You three, you're blackmailing your manager. You have evidence of fraud, and instead of reporting it, you're using it to protect your own lifestyle. She gestured at the designer bags. Bags you couldn't afford on your salaries. Unless you're taking your own cut of whatever he's stealing. The smiles vanished. Bola stepped closer, her voice dropping to something ugly. You think say you smart? You weigh where a rag come bank. She shoved Ifeoma's shoulder, hard enough to make her stumble. Get out before we make you famous for all the wrong reasons. We go post this video everywhere. Everyone go see you begging and shaming yourself. Ifeoma steadied herself, adjusted her torn wrapper, and looked at each of them in turn. She memorized their faces, their cruelty, their arrogance, the way they wielded their phones like weapons, their small power over someone they assumed had none. Okay, she said quietly. I'll go. But I want you to remember this moment. Remember that you had a choice. Remember that someone came to you asking for help, and you chose mockery. You chose cruelty. You chose to record it for entertainment. Whatever, Mama, Amaka said, waving her away dismissively. Motivational speech, no go feed you. A beg, go and find real work. Ifeoma turned and shuffled toward the exit, her plastic bag still clutched to her chest. Behind her, the three women were already laughing, already editing their video, already composing captions about the crazy beggar who'd invaded their workspace. None of them noticed the small smile that touched Ifeoma's lips as she pushed through the glass doors. None of them saw her pull a phone from inside that plastic bag. Not a cheap Nokia, but a sleek iPhone Pro Max, and sent a single text message, full surveillance activated. I have everything. Proceed with phase 2. Across the street, in an unmarked vehicle, her security team received the message and began compiling footage from the bank's own security cameras. Cameras that Ifeoma's IT department controlled remotely. Cameras that had captured every word, every shove, every moment of cruelty. The test was complete. The trap was set. And three women who thought they were filming someone else's humiliation had just recorded the evidence of their own destruction. Inside Apex Trust Microfinance Bank, business continued as normal. The morning rush began. Customers were served. Money changed hands. And nobody noticed that the homeless woman who'd been thrown out was actually the owner of everything they stood on. And she just seemed more than enough to change all of their lives forever. Ifeoma didn't go far. She circled the block and entered through the side entrance near the ATM vestibule, an area she knew from the building's architectural plans had a blind spot in the main security coverage. She needed to search the back areas, the spaces where something small could have been dropped or hidden. But more than that, she needed to see how her staff operated when they thought no one important was watching. The ATM area was cramped, poorly lit despite the morning sun outside. A young man in the standard Apex Trust uniform, blue shirt, black trousers, name tag reading Chinedu Okoli, Customer Relations Officer, was helping an elderly woman navigate the touchscreen, his voice patient and gentle as he explained each step. Mama, you see this button? Press him softly, not hard. Yes, like that. Now enter your PIN. No, Mama, don't tell me the number, just enter it yourself. Good, very good. The old woman completed her transaction and shuffled away, pressing a crumpled 20 naira note into Chinedu's hand. God bless you, my son. You get patience past all the other ones. Chinedu tried to refuse the money, but she insisted, and Ifeoma watched him accept it with grace, then immediately use it to buy pure water from the vendor outside for another customer who looked overheated. Ifeoma approached him slowly, resuming her role. Please, brother. I beg you. I lost something small, like memory card. Maybe it fell for this bank yesterday. You fit help me look. Chinedu turned, and unlike Bola and her crew, his first expression wasn't disgust. It was concern. Ah, mama, you done lost something? Memory card, you say? He glanced toward the main banking hall, then back at her, making a decision. Okay, make we look together. But quick, before they see you inside here again. Those girls for customer service. He shook his head. Their heart no good sometimes. They searched the ATM area together, Chinedu checking under machines, behind the trash bin, along the baseboards. He didn't question why a homeless woman would have a memory card. Didn't mock her appearance. Just helped, simply and completely. Nothing here, mama, he said finally, disappointment in his voice. But wait, you check for the banking hall floor? Sometimes thing day fall for under the chairs. They chase me comet, Ifeoma said quietly. Those girls. They record me with phone, laugh at me, push me. Chinedu's jaw tightened. Bola and them. I don't tell those girls before say their behavior no good. But they know day hear word. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his wallet, and extracted 2 crumpled 1,000 naira notes. Everything inside. Mama, take this. Go buy food. Maybe find somewhere better to search tomorrow. I wish I fit give more, but not only this remain for my salary this month. Ifeoma stared at the money, genuinely moved. Brother, this one way you want give me. You sure say you no need him? I go manage, Chinedu said, pressing the notes into her hand. I never chop breakfast SEF today, so when be lunch? Everybody get their own cross to carry. Today, make I help carry your own small. What Chinedu didn't know, what nobody had told him, was that in exactly 4 hours, at 2 p.m., he was scheduled to be terminated. Ifeoma had seen the HR memo before going undercover. Performance issues, it claimed. Spends too much time helping customers. Not enough time meeting sales targets. Gives away bank promotional materials to poor customers who can't afford account minimums. Not aligned with institutional growth objectives. In other words, he was too kind for banking. Thank you, Ifeoma said, accepting the money she didn't need but understanding that refusing it would diminish his gift. God go bless you, my son. Not small thing, mama. Just take. Chinedu. A sharp voice cut through the moment. Mr. Adebayo stood at the entrance to the ATM vestibule, his face flushed with anger and something else, barely controlled panic. What did I tell you about entertaining beggars in this facility? Get her out now. But the manager wasn't looking at Chinedu. He was staring at Ifeoma with an intensity that bordered on terror, and she understood suddenly what was happening. Mr. Adebayo thought she was an auditor. Thought corporate had sent someone undercover to investigate the irregularities that Bola and her friends were using to blackmail him. Sir, she just lost something. I was helping her look. Chinedu started. I don't care what she lost. Mr. Adebayo's voice rose to something shrill. I want her out of this building immediately. And you, he jabbed a finger at Chinedu. You're already on thin ice. One more incident of wasting company time on non-customers, and you're finished here. Do you understand? Yes, sir, Chinedu said quietly, the light dimming in his eyes. Mr. Adebayo turned back to Ifeoma, and she saw calculation happening behind his fear. He was trying to figure out what she'd seen, what she knew, whether his embezzlement scheme had been discovered, the loans he'd approved to ghost accounts, the customer funds he'd diverted, the regulatory reports he'd falsified. He was drowning in fraud, and he thought a homeless woman might be the auditor who'd expose it all. Madam, he said, his voice suddenly attempting charm, I apologize for any misunderstanding. If you've lost something valuable, perhaps you could file a formal report? Come to my office, we'll sort everything properly. He wanted her alone, wanted to figure out what she knew, possibly wanted to offer her money to disappear. Ifeoma played along, shuffling toward him. You go help me find my thing? Of course. Just come with me. Mr. Adebayo. Bola's voice rang out from the main hall. Your 2 o'clock appointment don't arrive. The one from head office. The manager froze. His actual auditor was here, which meant the woman in front of him was, what, just a beggar? Had he been panicking over nothing? But then why did she look at him like that? Why did her eyes hold something that looked like knowledge, like judgment? I have to take this meeting, he said abruptly, backing away from Ifeoma. Security will escort you out. Properly this time. He practically ran back to his office, sweat stains visible under his expensive suit jacket. Chinedu touched Ifeoma's arm gently. Come, mama. Make we go before Wallace start. I go walk you outside. Make sure they know rough handle you. As they moved through the banking hall, Ifeoma saw Bola, Chioma, and Amaka at their desks, laughing over something on their phones. Probably editing the video of her humiliation, adding cruel captions, preparing to make her viral for all the wrong reasons. At the entrance, Chinedu hesitated. Mama, that money I give you, use 'em well, you hear? And maybe try another bank if you need help. This one no be the best place for people way need kindness. This bank, Ifeoma said carefully. You like working here? Chinedu's smile was sad. I like helping people, but helping people no be the job anymore. The job not sales targets and profit margins, and making customers feel small, so they go borrow money they no fit pay back. He shrugged. I no think I go last here, much longer SEF. But not only God no. God in the HR department, Ifeoma thought. And now me. She watched him return to his post. This young man who'd given his last money to a stranger, who'd sacrificed his lunch to help someone he assumed had nothing, who would be fired in hours for the crime of being decent in an indecent system. Ifeoma pulled out her phone again and sent 3 messages. To HR, suspend all termination proceedings for Chinedu Okoli pending executive review. To her security team, full background check on Adebayo, all accounts, all transactions, all communications. Priority 1. To her legal department, prepare termination documents for Bola Adelik, Chioma Okafor, and Amaka Nwachukwu. Causes: workplace harassment, abuse of company resources, and complicity in fraud. Evidence package incoming. She looked back through the glass doors one last time. Chinedu was helping another customer, his patience infinite despite knowing his job hung by a thread. Bola and her friends were filming another TikTok, posing with their designer bags, radiating the confidence of people who believe they were untouchable. Mr. Adebayo was visible through his office window, wiping sweat from his forehead, his hands shaking as he spoke to the actual auditor, trying to maintain composure while his empire of fraud crumbled around him. In 12 hours, all of their lives would be completely different. In 12 hours, kindness would be rewarded and cruelty would face its reckoning. But first, Ifeoma needed to go home, shed the disguise, and return as herself. As the billionaire CEO, they'd all forgotten on the very ground they stood on. The crypto chip could wait. She'd found something far more valuable than missing technology. She'd found out exactly who her employees were when they thought no one important was watching. And that information was about to change everything. The emergency board meeting was called for 9 a.m. the next morning. The memo that went out at midnight was brief and terrifying in its simplicity. All Lucky branch staff to report to conference room. Attendance mandatory. CEO presiding. Nobody had seen the CEO in person at a branch level in 3 years. Madam Ifeoma Nwankwo operated from the fortified top floors of Apex Trust Victoria Island headquarters, a figure more myth than reality to ground-level employees. Her face appeared in annual reports and business magazines, always impeccably dressed, always radiating the kind of power that built empires. But she didn't do branch visits. She didn't attend staff meetings. She certainly didn't call emergency sessions at random locations, which meant something catastrophic had happened. Mr. Adebayo arrived at 8:30 a.m., his shirt already soaked through with nervous sweat. The actual auditor's visit yesterday had gone badly. Questions he couldn't answer, discrepancies he couldn't explain, promises to provide documentation he didn't actually have. He'd spent the night moving money between accounts, deleting emails, trying desperately to cover tracks that were already too visible. Bola, Chioma, and Amaka arrived together at 8:45, their designer bags swinging, their confidence intact. They'd posted the Beggar video last night, and it had gotten decent engagement, 2,000 likes, hundreds of comments laughing at the homeless woman who'd invaded their workplace. They were already planning follow-up content. You think the CEO coming because of that audit? Chioma whispered as they filed into the conference room. Probably Adebayo's fraud finally catch up with him. Bola said smugly. Good thing we get all that evidence. If they try fire us as witnesses, we just release everything. Chinedu arrived last, at 8:58, having worked a double shift because two other officers had called in sick. He'd seen the termination notice in his employee portal at 6 a.m., effective immediately, severance package minimal, no explanation beyond performance realignment. He was attending this meeting as his last official act as an Apex Trust employee, though nobody had told him that explicitly. The conference room was set up strangely. A large screen dominated one wall. Camera equipment was positioned at multiple angles. A team of people in dark suits, legal, HR, corporate security, lined the back wall like witnesses at an execution. And at the head of the table sat a woman whose presence seemed to bend gravity itself. She wore a navy blue Tom Ford suit that probably cost more than most people's annual salary. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo. Diamond studs caught the light. Her makeup was flawless. She looked exactly like her photographs in Forbes Africa and Business Day. Polished, powerful, utterly in control. It took Mr. Adebayo 3 full seconds to recognize her. When he did, the blood drained from his face so quickly he swayed in his chair. It took Bola, Chioma, and Amaka slightly longer. They were busy whispering about the fine woman at the head of the table, wondering if she was from corporate HR, speculating about whether this was about promotions or layoffs. Then the woman spoke. "Good morning. For those who don't recognize me, I am Madam Ifeoma, founder and CEO of Apex Trust Microfinance Bank." Her voice was cultured Lagos elite, British boarding school education, smoothed over Igbo roots. "Yesterday, I visited this branch. Some of you remember the visit. Others may need their memory refreshed." She clicked a remote, and the screen behind her flickered to life. The video showed the banking hall from the previous morning. High-definition security footage, perfect audio, every detail crystal clear. In there, shuffling through the doors in a torn wrapper and faded headscarf, was the homeless woman from yesterday. Bola's hand flew to her mouth. Chioma made a small, strangled sound. Amaka simply stared, her brain refusing to process what her eyes were seeing. "That's not," Bola started, but her voice died. "That's me," Ifeoma said calmly. "I went undercover to investigate certain irregularities in this branch. I was searching for a missing piece of equipment, yes, but I was also conducting a character assessment of my staff, testing to see how they treated someone they perceived as powerless." She paused, letting it sink in. "Some of you passed that test. One of you passed spectacularly. The rest of you." She clicked the remote again. The video continued. Bola's voice filled the room. "This one that you just enter bank like this? You cannot say this is not marketplace. I beg, go outside." Then Chioma, laughing. "Auntie, you lost what exactly?" "Your dignity." Then Amaka. "I'm posting this on our TikTok. Banking Queens meet Street Beggar." The three women watched their own cruelty played back in high definition, watched themselves mock and shove and film someone they'd assumed had no power to fight back. The room was silent except for the audio of their laughter, cruel and casual, the sound of people who'd never imagined consequences. The video shifted to the ATM area. Chinedu appeared on screen, patient and kind, helping search for something that didn't exist, giving away his last 2,000 naira without hesitation. "Mr. Chinedu Okoli," Ifeoma said, and Chinedu straightened in his chair, terrified. "You gave me your last money. Money you needed for food. Money you couldn't afford to lose. Why? You were scheduled to be terminated yesterday at 2 p.m. for performance issues. Specifically, for spending too much time helping customers who couldn't meet sales targets. For being, in the words of your former manager, too generous with people who don't contribute to branch profit margins." Ifeoma's expression hardened. "That termination has been permanently canceled. Effective immediately, you were promoted to branch manager of this location. Salary increased to 450,000 naira monthly, plus performance bonuses, company car, and full benefits package." The room erupted in gasps. Chinedu looked like he might faint. "Ma, I never managed anything before. You managed kindness when cruelty was easier," Ifeoma said. "You managed generosity when you had nothing to give. Those are the only management qualifications that matter to me." She turned back to the screen. "Now, let's discuss what happens to people who fail the character test." The video shifted again, this time showing Bola, Chioma, and Amaka's conversation with Mr. Adebayo. The audio was perfect, capturing every word of their blackmail, every threat, every admission of complicity in his fraud. Mr. Adebayo stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Madam CEO, I can explain. Those women force me. I have family. Sit down, Mr. Adebayo. Ifeoma's voice could have cut glass. I have 6 months of transaction records showing your embezzlement scheme. Ghost loan accounts, diverted customer funds, falsified regulatory reports. You've stolen approximately 8 million naira from this institution. The EFCC has already been notified. Investigators will arrive within the hour. She turned to Bola, Chioma, and Amaka, who sat frozen in their chairs, their designer bags suddenly looking like evidence of crimes rather than symbols of success. You 3 participated in fraud and used the evidence to blackmail your manager rather than report it. You took payments to stay quiet. You spent stolen money on luxury goods while telling yourselves you were clever. Ifeoma's voice was ice. You're terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Your final paychecks will be reduced by the value of company time you spent creating social media content during work hours, approximately 47 hours over the past 3 months. But we have rights, Chioma started. You have the right to leave quietly or be removed by force, Ifeoma said. Choose quickly. Bola found her voice, and it came out desperate, pleading. Madam CEO, please, we didn't know it was you. If you knew it was me, you would have been kind. Ifeoma's eyebrow arched. That's precisely the problem. Kindness shouldn't depend on someone's perceived status or power. Character is what you do when you think no one important is watching. She leaned forward. I was watching. I saw exactly who you are. And I will not have people of your character representing my institution. Our followers, Amaka whispered, thinking of her TikTok account, her Instagram, the influencer life she'd been building. Please don't make us. Oh, but I will, Ifeoma said, and her smile was sharp enough to draw blood. You filmed my humiliation for entertainment. You posted it for engagement. You turned cruelty into content. She gestured to the camera equipment set up around the room. Now you'll create one final video. A public apology. An explanation of what you did and why it was wrong. And you'll post it on every social media account you have. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You'll tag Apex Trust Bank. You'll be honest about your cruelty and your complicity in fraud. You'll let the world see you exactly as I saw you yesterday. No, Bola said, tears starting to stream down her face. Please, that will ruin us. Our accounts, our followers, everything we built. You built nothing, Ifeoma said flatly. You performed cruelty for an audience. Now you'll perform accountability. Same camera, same audience, different message. She nodded to the security team. Set up the equipment. They have 10 minutes to compose their thoughts. If they refuse, legal will file criminal charges for fraud conspiracy, and the video evidence of their harassment goes to every media outlet in Lagos. Their choice. The 3 women looked at each other, at the cameras being positioned, at the CEO who held their entire futures in her perfectly manicured hands. They'd weaponized social media against someone powerless. Now that weapon was being turned on them by someone who owned the platform they stood on. Mr. Adebayo was already being handcuffed by EFCC agents who'd apparently been waiting outside. His last view of the branch he'd run, and ruined, was through the conference room glass as he was led away in disgrace. Chinedu sat in shock, trying to process that he'd gone from fired to branch manager in less than 12 hours. That kindness had somehow been rewarded in a world that usually punished it. And Ifeoma watched it all unfold with the calm satisfaction of someone who'd built an empire on understanding human nature, on knowing that character reveals itself in crisis, and on believing that justice, real justice, required witnesses. The camera started rolling. Bola, Chioma, and Amaka faced their moment of reckoning, tears running down their faces, their carefully constructed influencer personas about to be dismantled by the truth they could no longer hide. Sometimes karma doesn't arrive in private. Sometimes it arrives with cameras rolling and the whole world watching. Ifeoma turned to address the remaining staff members who'd been called to witness the proceedings. Let this be a lesson to everyone in this room and in every Apex Trust branch across Nigeria. This company was built on a promise to serve communities that traditional banks ignored. to provide financial access to market women, small business owners, and people building their lives from the ground up. We don't serve them because they're profitable. We serve them because it's right. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and tell us what you learned in the comments below.